Welcome to Get Your Coins Sis podcast, the audio show designed exclusively for you. I'm Nell Latrice, your host and fellow mom on a mission to empower, inspire, and guide you on the path to financial independence. Tune in for expert advice, real life stories, and actionable tips to help you secure the bag and truly get your coins, sis. Because you deserve financial success and stability. Let's thrive together. Oh, and I'm gonna cut this part out, so don't worry about it. So I want to make sure I'm saying your last name correctly.
Uh,
It's Bertrand,
yeah,
right?
that's correct.
Okay, perfect, perfect. I was like, I do not want to get her name wrong on
No,
this
that
podcast
is
today.
correct.
Okay, great. Alrighty, so my name is Nell Latrice, and welcome to the Get Your Coin Sis podcast. And today we have Danielle Bertrand. She is a burnout prevention specialist. So I am going to have Danielle introduce herself a little bit and tell us a little about what she does and how her business works, things like that.
Okay. Well, thank you again for having me on your podcast. It's awesome. It's always an opportunity, and I'm so thankful when I do get the opportunity to share a platform with such a beautiful person. Look, we just met, but I can tell.
Yeah, oh, thank
So,
you.
I'm Danielle Bertrand, the preventative burnout specialist, and my focus is on helping educators, employees, stay-at-home moms, entrepreneurs, whoever you may be, to prevent or recover from burnout. I experienced burnout year 2 of my teaching career, and a lot of people do experience burnout and they just leave their whole career. And what I've learned is that you can recover. You don't have to completely change. It might be changing school districts, grade levels. There might be a change that needs to be made, but you might not need a completely different career. And so, after experiencing burnout year 2, and after that having a successful 10-year career in the classroom, and when I did leave, I didn't leave because I was burnt out. I left because God was calling me to make a bigger impact. And so
Yes.
knowing that you can leave and still be well is what I want other people to know is possible, or for them to stay and be well as well.
Yes, that is so important because I am a mom. I have three
Mhm.
children and I've experienced burnout. So I know how it feels to be overwhelmed with
Mhm.
multiple things to do, including work, including trying to be an
Yes.
entrepreneur. So that's also an added thing on the plate. And
Mhm.
especially if you have children that participate in sports or
Mhm.
extracurricular activities, it's very easy to feel burnt out all the time. So this is very important and I love what you're doing.
Thank you.
So I wanted to go into a couple of warm-up questions.
Mhm.
How did you lean into your identity as a preventative burnout specialist?
It was something that I pretty much shied away from, because I experienced this year too. So that was like almost 8 years ago where I experienced burnout and I recovered. But then I started to realize that burnout was taking so many amazing, especially educators, out of the game. I would be watching on
Mhm.
TikTok and they were like, oh, it's year 2, but I gotta go because of my mental health. And it was just like, and you can tell that they loved it though, but they
Yeah.
didn't have the resources to be able to stay and be well in their position. And that just began to really break my heart. And so 2 years ago, I hosted something in Dallas, Texas called the Burnout to Blazing Experience. And it was a free event for female educators to come and just get poured into. We had shakers. It was just a whole thing to really be refueled. And it happened right before the end of first semester. And honestly, that's when a lot of people deciding if they coming back or not, right? Over the
Yes.
Christmas break. And so that's when we held it. And just to see the women in the room say thank you, like, we have Teacher Appreciation Week, but that's a week at the end of the school year. Some people don't make it
Yes.
that far. And so we
Exactly.
have to start doing stuff that is a consistent showing appreciation to these people that are giving so much of themselves on a day-to-day basis that other careers except parenthood doesn't require of people. And even parenthood, you might have 5 kids but you don't have 30, right? So even with
Exactly.
that, it takes on so much more. And so that's what really made me begin to lean into it. My master's is in teacher leadership, and so really empowering teachers is something I always had a desire to do. And so even though I'm not even in the classroom anymore, I still feel like that's still part of my purpose to go ahead and still do that.
Yeah, so what advice would you give to an
Mhm.
educator, to get back in the groove of, we are in the
Mhm.
second semester and here they are feeling burnt out. What advice can you
Yeah.
give someone who's feeling that way?
So if you're in, school just started, we headed towards Thanksgiving, and so you about to get a little
Yeah,
break, but I think I heard somebody says like 7 weeks. So depending on when you
exactly.
watching this, how close you are to your Thanksgiving break. But what I would say is doing some small things, because small things can be a difference maker. A lot of times when teachers, especially if they have kids, they get up and they're just running around the house. We got to get out the door. We got to get you on the bus. I got to get you to school, and it's just like a frenzy in the morning time. But if there's a little preparation the night before, hey, I already know what I'm wearing tomorrow. Like little things that can help make your day smoother. What I tell people, hey, either put some instrumental gospel music, some jazz music, like put something on to start your day to kind of ease into your day versus you just running in, right? Because the
Exactly.
day is ready for you, but are you ready for your day?
Mhm.
And so you get to set the
Exactly.
tone of how your day is going to start for you. And if you're a parent, your children too, because nobody wants all that early in the morning. But if there wasn't preparation the night before, that's the only way we can get out the door on time. So just being intentional about some little things. What I tell my, especially the females, I'm like, hey girl, just change your nail color. Like, and people like, huh? I'm
Exactly.
like, it can be something that simple, because sometimes we like, oh, I just gotta, it's so routine. And I think
Mhm.
the routine of things is really something that contributes to burnout, because there is never any excitement. Joy has found the door, and so you don't really have
Yep.
joy throughout your day. So something as little as when you type and you see another nail color like that, a color you actually like, that could really be like, oh, and it's something so small, but it's not going to be this big monumental moment. It's really going to be the small things that you begin to implement consistently that can help you either prevent it or start to recover from it.
Yes, yes, I agree with that because I feel like I'm not like a real early morning
Hmm.
person, but I notice that when I get up a little bit earlier
Hmm.
and I'm not feeling like I'm being
Yeah.
rushed, then that sets the tone for my whole day. So I do feel much better
Hmm.
when I decide to get up those extra 20 minutes
Yeah.
early and not feel like I'm on the go, go, go.
Hmm.
And then I have time to journal, write something quick down. And like you said, I did start incorporating into my
Hmm.
routine, turning on motivational YouTubes in the
Hmm.
morning. Like I let it play, we all listen to it,
Yeah.
and that does help my day, go a little
Yeah.
smoother, sets the tone. So
Hmm.
that definitely helps. I,
Yes.
I resonate with that
Yes.
completely.
Most definitely.
So why is helping educators and entrepreneurs prevent and recover from burnout a top priority for you?
It's a top priority for me because burnout will try to bury you, like point blank,
Hmm.
period. Like, and not just bury you. I mean, it could physically bury you, because you could be so stressed
Yes.
out and burnt out that your body, like, hey, we can't take this anymore. And so it's important, because you have a purpose on this earth. And if you allow all those external things to just continue to pile and pile upon you, then you're not going to be able to fulfill your purpose outside of your career, right? Because some of us get so engulfed in the career, and it's like, well, you do have a purpose there, but you probably have a bigger purpose that God is calling you to. And if you're so burnt out, you'll never fulfill that, because you just want to stop everything when you're burnt out. When I experienced
Exactly.
it, I didn't want to teach no more. I had a dance studio. I didn't want to teach dance. I had church. What I just didn't want to do anything, because I didn't have any more capacity. And so to show people, hey, you do have capacity, and some things you're gonna have to start saying no to. A lot, especially as women, we tend to say yes to a lot of things, but that contributes to burnout when you're saying yes to things that are not fueling you. You're the only thing you're doing is pouring, 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 and nothing you're saying yes to is beneficial physically to yourself. Then you experience burnout. And so that business never makes $1 million, because you never get past year two, that you never move up the corporate ladder because you don't have the capacity to give what it takes to be able to do that. And so I just want to see people win inside and outside of their careers in a way that's meaningful, where they still have meaningful relationships. It's no use to be teacher of the year and all your relationships outside of that are falling apart. You ain't text your best friend back in 3 months. Like, that doesn't make sense to me, to be up here in one place and down here in another. There has to be some harmony between those things.
Yes, yes, I definitely agree with that because going back to feeling stress,
Mm-hmm.
we know that stress contributes to high blood
Mm-hmm.
pressure. It contributes to overeating. Stress is a number one killer. So
Mm-hmm.
it's very important to get that under, in check
Yeah.
because I know that when I'm stressed out, that's the first thing that's raised is my blood pressure
Uh-huh.
be through the roof.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm like, I'm getting a headache now. I'm sick. You know what I'm saying? So I have to keep that in check too and to make sure that I'm doing things also
Mm-hmm.
to keep my health in check because that's number one.
Yeah.
Like you said, you can't do anything if your health is not in order, if your mind is not in order. So
Yeah.
I feel that for
Yeah.
sure. So what are some practical strategies that our listeners can implement to manage stress and avoid burnout?
So I would say just kind of reevaluate where you are currently. In the program that I taught, one of the sessions was where is here? Like, we always like, I want to get there. I want to get, 5 years, but where are you right now? Like, physically, or do you live in a house? What are you living paycheck to pay? Like, where are you right now? And reevaluate that, because if you're not where you want to be, there are some decisions you are probably making that are keeping you there. You might have not made the original decision to get there. That might have been circumstantial, but there might be some decisions you are currently making that are keeping you right where you are, and it's contributing to your stress level, right? And it's making you feel like I feel like you living in a box, right? And
Mhm.
so the box has a top on it though. And so those
Yes.
decisions begin to open that box and then begin to push it out of the way, and you can walk freely. So evaluating your relationships,
Mhm.
evaluating your career, where you are, because a lot of times people can be doing a lot better than they are, but they're just too afraid to apply for the next thing. Oh, well, I
Yes.
know they posted the promotion, but I don't know if I'm qualified. But you
Yeah.
never gonna know if you never apply. And so a lot of times people are the ones that are holding themselves hostage to whatever situation they're in. So you could be living a less stressed life because the stress might be because of the amount of money that's coming in. You're financially stressed, but you want to apply for the promotion. So whose
Exactly.
fault really is that if you don't take part in it? So I feel like with stress management and all that stuff, we play a vital part in it, and we can change our environment, but we have to evaluate where it is. And we can't be, I know a lot of people want you to be delusional, but you got to come back to reality and say, where
Yes.
am I right now, and what can I do physically to kind of change the situation?
Yes, definitely. I always tell people you are the owner of your own destiny,
Mm-hmm.
period. You control it. I believe in a higher power, which is God. I do believe that God affords you certain
Yeah.
opportunities, but I also believe that God puts you in a position that you have to go get it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You need to own your own destiny. Nobody else is going to do it for
Yeah.
you. No one else is here to save you. Yes, you can ask for help, but you have to go get it on your own too, and you have to be motivated.
Yeah.
And I always tell people it's always that complacency thing. You can be content, but don't be complacent.
Exactly.
So I always tell people to think about that
Mm-hmm.
when they're trying to achieve something.
Mm-hmm.
So those are really, really
Mm-hmm.
good tips.
Yeah.
How important is work-life balance in preventing burnout, and what are some tips for achieving it?
Yeah. So work-life balance, and I think a lot of people have really been realizing, does it really exist? Like, is it really?
Right.
Because honestly, work and life, I feel like life definitely takes a priority over work, right? Like, and so
Yes.
you teach harmony, finding harmony between those things. So today I might pour 50% in my business and 50% in my family, but tomorrow my family might need 90% and my work might only get 10. And so finding harmony
Mhm.
within those things can help, because if you are finding yourself trying to balance work and life when you know you value your family more than you value this job in a sense, then you are going to drag the time down with your family. And they're the ones that are going to be there 20 years from now when you're no longer at that job, right? And so I
Yes.
think prioritizing has to be something that we do on a daily basis. Okay, well, you know what? I spent 10 hours overtime working this week. This next week, I'm going to brunch, right? I'm going to hang out with my friends. I'm going to do something that refuels those relationships. So my goal is harmony, not necessarily balance, because work never gonna trump. Like I'm never going to
Yeah.
pick work over, so, but just making sure that they are in some type of harmony where, it works and everything is getting what it needs, but maybe not the same amount of time every day.
Exactly, exactly. I lean on a
Mm-hmm.
list. Every day, I make sure I write out a list to see what I'm going to do, and I
Mm-hmm.
kind of prioritize what's
Mm-hmm.
important for that day.
No.
But I make sure if my list is not done, that I'm not feeling, because sometimes I used to feel away like, dang,
Uh-huh.
I didn't get one, two, three, all
Yeah.
of this stuff done. But we have to be realistic on what we can fit in really what a 12, 13-hour day,
Mm-hmm.
because you getting up, if you have children, you're getting children
Mm-hmm.
ready, then you have to work, then you're doing extra stuff. So I had to start being
Yeah.
realistic on what's on this list and stop trying to cram 40 different
Yeah.
things on this in one dang on day
Yes.
when I know I'm not gonna get this done,
Yeah.
and then being mad when I don't get it
Yeah.
finished.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
yes, those are really really good tips. Given that many of our listeners value faith-based perspectives, how can faith and
Mm-hmm.
spirituality play a role in preventing burnout?
Definitely spending time with God. So journaling is a high priority for me. I started journaling through a journal challenge in 2013. And
Mhm.
now I probably have over 20 something journals, right? And so not that I get to do it every day, but over time, that is something that I truly value. And so spending time with him, because a lot of times we burn out because we stay too long. And what I
Yeah.
mean by that is in school, we get an assignment, right? We turn it in and we go to the next one. But something happens when we hit life and we like, oh, I only can do this. And God's like, but I have other things for you to do. Like you can turn that one in. Great. Now let's move on. And I think nurses get it right because they have assignments when they go on, when they nurse,
Yes.
right? They're like, oh, I'm here for 6 weeks and then I'm moving on. But in a lot of other careers, it's just like, I just have to stay. And it's like the same guy that blessed you with that job will bless you with another job when he's ready for you to be done. And
Yeah.
I know traditionally, especially our parents and probably grandparents, they got one job and they stayed there, and that was it. Like, and that's what they taught us. But we have a lot more flexibility now, and it's okay. And a lot of people feel guilty for wanting to leave. But if God is putting you in a place where He's like, you've done what you needed to do, I need you to move on. When we stay and the graces run out, burnout is surely going to come
Mhm.
because you don't even have the capacity for that thing. And you're honestly in somebody else's position now. Somebody else should be there and you should have moved on. So now there's a tug of war. And so just really leaning into him and just checking in like, hey, am I done? Do I have more work to do here? Because I feel like you should always be developing. If we're at a job now where you can do it with your eyes closed, that's not a flex. Like you should
Exactly.
be actively involved in whatever the process is because God wants you to be sensitive to what's going on. But if it's gotten to that point and the 401k is the only reason you stay in, you might want to go double check with him
Mm,
and see if you should still be
facts.
there.
To see if you should be doing something else. I'm a big believer in that because I get bored really
Mm-hmm.
easily. So the job that I'm at now, I've been there almost 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
That's the longest I've
Mm-hmm.
ever stayed at a job. Sorry. That's the
Uh-huh.
longest I've ever stayed at a job. So I'm like, okay, now I'm starting to get bored.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm like, Lord. So I'll be going talking to the Lord. I'll be like, Lord,
Uh-huh.
tell me what you want me to do.
Yeah.
And I've always learned that when I try something new, if it works out and it lines up, then it's for me.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I'm not saying that there's not going to be any bumps in the
Yeah.
road or something is not going to happen, but I always talk to him first, and I ask him, and he always show me a sign, like,
Mm-hmm.
move forward,
Yeah.
or no, this is not what you should be doing. You should be waiting. And I know when it
Yeah.
doesn't work out, it wasn't for me. So that is wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any
Yeah, most
faith-based
definitely.
practices or routines that you recommend for maintaining mental and emotional well-being? So what do, per your faith, or any practices or routines that
Mm-hmm.
help
Yeah.
you mentally or emotionally?
Yes. Most definitely journaling. Journal at the top. I go walk. And I know
Yes.
that depending on what your job is and schedule, that might not be the easiest thing to do. But I definitely recommend you get 15 minutes at least. So the first 15 minutes of my walk, I'm praying. Like that's I have headphones on. They don't know who I'm talking to, right? And so
Yeah.
that's what I'm doing. I'm outside walking. And then, and the other part of that is when I'm walking, if I have time left, like I'll call somebody that I hadn't talked to in a while. So I'm walking, physically exercising, but then I get to catch up with somebody while I wasn't just idly sitting and just having a conversation. And so that helps with the maintaining of relationships as well. So
Yes.
those things can assist with just making sure that you are in tune with what's happening with you and around you, because a lot of times, like I said, we can just go in a cave and don't ever put our heads up, and it's like, wait, things are changing, the seasons are changing. I need to be paying attention to that, because there might be something new that's headed my way, and if I keep my head down, I'm gonna miss it. Or there might be something I need to let go of in this season, and if I just keep trucking at it, I'm going to hold on to it way too long. And so walking, journaling, connecting with friends, all of those things are something that I do consistently.
Yes, I think that's important, to connecting with
Mm-hmm.
friends, because I feel like it's like you see memes on
Mm-hmm.
social media, or this culture that, we're all so busy, and I might not talk to you for 6 months. And it's understandable. We
Yeah.
all are very, very
Yeah.
busy. But I think it's important to prioritize
Mm-hmm.
your friends or people that are important to
Yeah.
you, because you don't want them still feeling a certain kind of way or left out, like you forgot about them. And I also think it's good, like you said, mentally,
Mm-hmm.
to check in
Mm-hmm.
and connect with the people that you love most. Because what is life without connecting
Yeah.
with the people that's helping you do life?
Exactly.
So I can feel that for sure. Can you share a success story of someone who effectively prevented burnout using your methods?
When I saw this question, I was like, who can I say? And honestly, I was my first test subject, right?
Yes.
Because I had to identify that I was even burnt out. Because again, this was a couple of years ago. Burnout was a term, but it was kind of like, oh girl, just that's what we do. We just work, right? And so identifying the symptoms of burnout was like the first step that I had to go through. Like, hey, the stuff that I loved, I don't want to do any of it. And so
Hmm.
really identifying that and saying, well, what happened? Like what really changed, and figuring out what changed and what could I do? Because the ultimate goal for me is to help people reignite joy. Like, when did joy leave you? When did you stop feeling excited about this? Because it could be that God is trying to transition you, but it could just be that you got so involved and you said yes to so many things that joy, as you kept saying yes, joy kept walking out of the door because you weren't leaving any space for that anymore. And so things that I began to do were say, hey, well, if I enjoy watching a movie, put a movie on. Like, if I enjoy going for a walk, go for a walk. And I think sometimes we feel like we need permission to do these things. Girl, go. Like, you don't need permission from somebody to say, oh, it's okay to do this. It's okay to go on vacation. It's okay to go hang out and do. You don't need permission. And I think when I started realizing I didn't need permission to be happy, that's when things began to change. When I realized, you know what, that job, it took me maybe an hour to drive there. I don't have an hour to give in the car. So I need to find a job that's a little close to home. And it could be
Yes.
things like that, but you have to be willing to make those adjustments so that you can begin to live a thriving, fulfilled life again, or maybe it's your first time. And so those are some of the things that I did. I changed grade levels. Even the grade level that I was teaching, it was middle school. Middle school was cool, but I really wanted high school. So I went to a high school and everything changed. And so I think being willing to go after the stuff that we know we really want instead of just settling like, oh, well, that's what they offer. There are more people offering more things. If that's not it, be willing to go for the thing that you want and not settle. And when you don't settle, joy has room to show up in your life because you're like, man, I wish I would have. You're not living with regret or living with, oh, I wish I would have did that. Just go after the thing you want for real.
Yes, yes, that is so important too because even going after the thing that you want, I always want people to remember that it's not going to always just be quick.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you have to have patience
Yeah.
too. And sometimes God is testing to see if you're going to be
Mm-hmm.
patient, for what you
Yeah.
want. Because I think we live in this quick grab
Mm-hmm.
society, you know what I mean? Like everybody wants this instant gratification because they want it, so
Yeah.
they have to have it now. But sometimes you have to wait for what you want. And like you said, and it might take different
Mm-hmm.
opportunities, like you said. It might take from you going from middle school to high
Mm-hmm.
school, or maybe I don't like high school, maybe I might try college.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you have to always be willing to try something different. That is so good. All of these things you're saying, I'm like, this is me. She is speaking to
I
me,
know.
okay? Because this is me all over again. What are some common challenges people face when trying to prevent burnout, and how can they overcome them?
I think some challenges is not knowing what the symptoms are because we're taught to be the strong person, right? And so we start thinking, oh, well, I'm weak. No, you're about to burn out. Right. And so I think we put it in the wrong category of weakness. And no, your body is trying to tell you something. Your body, your mind is saying, you can't say yes to nothing else, or you got to start saying no to some stuff so you can say yes to the things that you really want, and not always trying to or feeling like we have to be the strong one. If we let go of always being the strong one, always, like some of us are the oldest daughter, so we already got that. Some of us are the strong friend, right? And so we taking
Mm-hmm.
on, so we got family, we up here on the list, friends, we up here on the list. Then in our career, we might be a manager or everybody come. And so we're always at the top of the list of where people go to get whatever they need, but then we don't have a list that we can go to, right? And
Yes.
so when your body is telling you, hey, you need to reevaluate because you're pouring, but where are you getting poured into? And I think that's one of the biggest things, finding a place where you can be poured back into and having certain conversations with the people you're already with and say, hey, you know what? I don't have the capacity for that right now. Like I understand where you are, but I don't have the capacity to give, and letting them know, hey, but there is something, because I think a lot of people think, oh, well, she's a strong friend. How could I help her? Girl, just call and say how you doing, and just being, I'm still a human too. And I think when people categorize you as the strong one, they see cape and they don't see your heart. And it's like,
Mhm.
no, I don't wear a cape. God has given me, God puts his super on my natural, but I'm not a superhuman. And so I
Mhm.
need a place to be poured back into as well. And so I think dismantling all of those titles and just being human with people, I think that will be super beneficial to helping to prevent burnout and just making sure that everybody's good versus just assuming, oh, well, she must be good. Like I've heard so many times,
Yeah.
oh, you look so busy. Girl, if you only knew I was sitting at home watching TV. Like, I'm not,
Exactly.
but people assume stuff because it's like, but did you call and see? That was an
Yeah, did you
assumption.
ask me?
Did you ask?
Right, like
I could have, that post
yes,
could have been, I could have took that picture 3 weeks ago. Just because
exactly.
like I think
Yes.
social media gives that facade, but it's like people are still real people. So yeah.
Yes, yes, no, because sometimes I know I had to learn because I'm like a busy person,
Mm,
always
mm,
gotta be doing
mm.
something busy, 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 and I'm getting out of that. I'm like, okay, if I sit around for a couple of days, it's okay for me to sit around
Yeah,
sometimes. You know what I'm saying? I do not always need to be doing
yeah,
something.
yeah,
I can sit down and watch TV all day, my favorite
yeah,
show, and not feel guilty about
yeah.
relaxing because this is a go, 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 go
Mm-hmm.
society to where that now it's always something to do. I don't care if it's work, kids, traveling,
Yes,
you know what I'm
yes,
saying? This brunch, this networking
yes,
event, it's always something to do. So I'm like, I do not need to always be doing
yeah.
something, period.
Yes, and with
Okay?
that, I think a lot of us think of rest as a reward. Like, oh, if I do so much, then I can rest. But rest is not a reward; it's a
Mhm.
requirement. Because if you don't
Yeah.
rest, you're not going to be able to do all that stuff in excellence. You'll get it done, but the excellence that you want to portray, your body's not going to have the capacity to show up like that. So, rest is not a reward; it's literally a requirement for life.
Yes, yes, I love it. So I've seen that you have a book on Amazon,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to talk a little bit about that. So please tell us the name of your book
Uh-huh.
and what people can get out of getting your book and what it's about.
So I actually have like three, but I will talk about Girl It's Go Time. So this is Girl It's Go Time.
Yes.
This is the first one I wrote, and I was teaching then. And when I wrote it, I was sitting in my classroom and I was plain and pure. I was like, God, there has to be more. And he plain told me, he said, I'm not holding you hostage. You're comfortable with your paycheck. And he told
Yes.
me, girl, it's go time. And so this book is all about building your girl tribe, your relationship with God, with money, with friendships, and just really getting off the sideline and going after the things with your name on it. Because it's like, oh, I call this restaurant and I put my name on the reservation list. Well, that's cool. But if you never show up, the table's never going to be yours and they're going to
Ooh.
give it to somebody else. And so we think, oh, well, it got my name on it, so it's mine. But baby, if you don't show up, they're not going to hold that
Mm.
forever. It's same with God. If he needs
Yes.
something done and he gave it to you, but you just twiddling your thumbs because you said yes to so many other things that you should have said no to, somebody else is going to get it. And so that's what Girl is Go Time is about. It actually has a 21-day devotional at the end of it. And so
Hmm.
it's just about helping you get up and go, not sitting on the sidelines and knowing that there are things with your name on it, but you're gonna have to go and be in position to obtain those things.
Ooh, that is so good. I need to grab me a copy because I didn't know you had that one.
Yes,
I know that you had the other book,
have you?
um, Sky
Yes,
Views, yes, transitioning from frustration to freedom. I actually went and looked it up on Amazon. I said, "Oh, I need to be getting that because I be frustrated all the time. Sis need to
yes,
be free.
yes,
I need to grab that book." So,
yes.
where else can we get the book? Amazon, do you have it on your
Yeah, so
website?
actually
Or is it?
everything right now is currently on Amazon just so you can get their quick shipping, right? So you can get it to
Yes.
you quickly. So that's where all the books are housed. So Girl is Go Time, Sky Views, and then I have a journal from burned out to blazing in 90 days. And this is a journal for
Ooh.
female educators. So if you're like, girl, I don't know if I'm gonna make it in 90 days, if you commit to journaling, because through it is going to either confirm, hey, you need to be there, or maybe God is trying to tell you, oh, it's time to go. Like, I'm never the one that's like, oh yeah, you just got to stay until you retire. Like, that is never the message that
Yes.
I am. No, what is God telling
Yes.
you to do? Right? Because you will
Yes.
stay and be frustrated, and nobody's going to benefit from that. So those, all three of those books are on Amazon, but you can go to my website and see all the titles and all of those things.
Yes, yes. I will tell people, please grab it, the journal, the book, because you have to get into a space where God can speak to you
Yeah.
too. Because sometimes you're not hearing him because you haven't positioned
Hmm.
yourself to hear him.
Okay.
So I want people to, you have to do those, self-care
Hmm.
things like reading,
Hmm.
journaling, doing something that you love so you can hear what he's saying to you. So yes, everybody grab the book off Amazon, and I'll also link it in the show notes. And then where can we reach you on social media?
So on Instagram, I am Dr. Danielle Loading. Y'all, this doctoral program, we just hit a year, so we're a year in.
Yay!
Thank
Congratulations.
you. So Dr. Danielle Loading on Instagram. on Facebook and Instagram too. Renew Consulting Firm. You can find me there on LinkedIn. I'm Danielle Bertrand. So if you're there, would love to connect. And the website. Definitely that's the great place to connect. Join the email list, renewconsultingfirm.com, and you can see all the programs and all the different things that we offer.
Perfect. I'll be sure to link your
Mhm.
website and your books and everything so people can stay
Mhm.
connected. I appreciate you sharing your insight with us today. And before we wrap
Mhm.
up, what final thoughts or advice do you have for our listeners today?
The final thoughts or advice is, girl, you have what you need. And I say that, and I know people say that, oh no, but I don't. I promise you, there are things that you have experienced that if you go back and pull some of those lessons, you will realize you have what you need, or you know the people that you need to know to get to the next level. Because we met in the Facebook group, right? There are
Exactly.
places that you are already that can have the connections you
Mhm.
need, but you have to be willing to speak up and say, oh, okay, well, I can do that. Or, hey, I need this, or I'm looking for this. And so I think we quiet ourselves and we hush our voices too much. And then we miss out on the opportunities that are literally one email away, right? Like it could literally be one response away from the thing that you thought, oh, well, in 5 years I'll be able to do that. Who told you had to wait that long? And I really
Mhm.
want people to understand the wait time for a lot of stuff is on you. If
Yep.
you want a long waiting process, okay, you can have one. But if you don't and you're really feeling the push to go ahead and get something done, go attend the events, go to the conferences, do what you need to do to be around the right people. I think especially as entrepreneurs, we can get so I'm just focused on my thing, but there are other people that you can partner with, that you can collaborate with, that can be in-kind sponsors to what you got going on. But you got to start opening your mouth about what God has called you to do.
Yes, amen. I agree with that because I always tell people I'm an introvert,
Mhm.
extrovert.
Mhm.
So I seem extroverted. Oh yeah, I'll warm up real quick. But I used to be scared to ask people for stuff,
Yeah.
especially when you don't know them.
Yeah.
But I have noticed, I swear I've noticed, the
Mhm.
people that I don't know have
Mhm.
been the people who have been in my corner the most.
Yeah.
So I want people to hear that message loud and clear.
Yeah.
You may not have your people now,
Mhm.
but if you go out there, like you said, and find those people, then you will get those
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, we don't know each other.
Mhm.
We're in a group together. So you have to be willing, like you said, to put yourself
Mhm.
out there. And it doesn't matter. Sometimes you might get rejected.
Yeah.
Sometimes people might not bite as quick as you think they
Mhm.
should bite on the opportunity,
Mhm.
but that's okay. You just keep going. I love
Yeah.
that. I love that. Well, thank you so much for coming on Get Your Coins Sis podcast today. We appreciate having you. And thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for the
Thank you.
opportunity.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Get Your Coins Sis podcast. We hope you found today's discussion insightful and empowering. Remember, every step you take towards personal growth and financial literacy brings you closer to your goals. Stay connected with us on social media and share your thoughts and stories. Until next time, keep striving, keep believing, and keep trusting in God's plan for your life. Stay blessed and see you in the next episode.